3-4 we did back on the remote learning day. We got an assignment similar to that yesterday, where we got a little more practice with it. So we're moving on to 3-5, part 1. We'll finish up the notes on Monday. So we just got part 1 today. I'm looking at testing in here next Thursday. So just be aware of that. Be ready for that. We'll have a test next Thursday. Everyone got it? So let's get into 3-5, graphing linear equations in slope-intercept form. Oh yeah, I forgot. So, slope dude. Here's a little summary of what they pretty much just said in that video. Slope dude skis from left to right. So, going uphill from left to right. What did he say? Puff, puff, positive. So if we have a line that's going uphill from left to right, it's going to be a positive number. What did he say going downhill from left to right? Nice, negative. If we got a line going downhill from left to right, we know it's going to be a negative number. What did he say on the flat part? This is zero fun. If we have a flat horizontal line, our slope is 0. We learned that from Hoy and Vux, but we also learned it from Slope Dude. So, this is 0 fun. The slope is 0 on a flat line. And then, be careful what you say here. What did he say on the vertical cliff? You all have ASD now.
I didn't say it, they did.
Still got ASD. I'm just kidding. So, the slope of a vertical line is undefined. Okay? So, you guys remembered all the sayings, right? Because it was so cheesy and so corny. But you're going to remember that for the rest of your life. Yes, you are. You're going to be like, what did Slope Dude say on that slope? So just remember this. Whenever you're finding the slope of a line, you can always double check your work for the sign. If it's going uphill from left to right, you know it's positive. Downhill left to right, it's negative. Flat line, 0. Vertical line, undefined. Any questions about that? We all right? Okay. So, we've heard about slope before, correct? Probably learned about slope a little bit in middle school.
Yes.
So, the slope m, we use the variable m to represent slope of a non-vertical line passing through 2 points, x1, y1, and x2, y2, is the ratio of the rise, aka my change in my y values, to the run, the change in my x values. You've probably heard it, rise over run, millions of times, have you not?
Yes.
Slope is rise over run, right? So I would definitely have this formula written down. Have it written down. So pick up your pencils, start writing it down. That's what I mean by that. Write it down. So my slope is the variable m, which equals rise over run, which equals change in y over change in x, which equals y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So this is actually my slope formula right there. So our rise over run makes a triangle pretty much on my graph. You can see how far you're rising to get from one point to the other using this triangle. And then you can see how far you're running to get from that point to that point. So rise over run, y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. And just another reminder, if you didn't hear it enough from Slope Dude, here at the bottom, when the line rises from left to right, it's uphill from left to right. The slope is positive. When the line falls from left to right, it's downhill from left to right. The slope is negative. Puff, puff, positive. Nice, negative. You guys say it like Slope Dude too. Are there any questions about slope so far? You definitely need to have this formula written down, and you need to eventually have it memorized. we're going to use this formula quite a bit from here on out. Okay? So slope is y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. You use that in Algebra 2. You might use it in geometry some. Trig, pre-calc, you might use it some. Calculus, you might use it some. You need to have it memorized. Any questions? Can I go ahead and move on? So letter A and B, example 1. Describe the slope of each line, then find the slope. So letter A. We're going to describe the slope first. So, is that going uphill from left to right, downhill from left to right? Is it a nice flat horizontal line or is it a vertical line? It's going uphill from left to right. So, what does slope dude say on that line? Puff, puff, positive. So, describing the slope, I'd say the line goes uphill from left to right. So the slope is what? That'd be me describing my slope. So I would ask you to describe it. That's what it would look like. Questions on that part? Can I erase and move on to actually finding the slope? So there's a couple of ways I can look at this. Slope is what over what? Rise over run. So if I have a graph, I can just look at it that way, look at my rise and look at my run. So let's go from our point 3, 2 to our point negative 3, 2. Let's see how far I'm rising. That's my vertical change. Going 1, 2, 3, 4. Does everyone see that from my graph? Going down 4 units. So my rise is 4. You see how we got 4? Okay. From the graph, I'm going 1, 2, 3, 4. So my run would be what? How far am I going horizontally? 6. I know it says it right there, but let's see how we got 6. We go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Does everyone see how we use the graph to do rise over run? When I'm doing my slope, and any time in math, I really want to simplify my fractions. So what would this simplify down to? 2/3. And then I need to make sure I have my sign correct. What did slope dude say on this line? Puff, puff, positive. So I know it's a positive 2/3. There's my slope. Any questions there?
You have 2 answers?
Huh?
So when you wrote out like the...
Oh, yes. On this one, I'm going to have 2 answers. Because it wanted me to describe the slope first. So that was the first part that I did. And then actually find the slope. So there's one way of finding my slope. Let's look at another method on letter A. Can I go ahead and erase? I can use my slope formula. So, what are my 2 ordered pairs that I'm given on my graph? 3, 2, negative 3, negative 2. Correct? So can anyone raise your hand and tell me what I mean by y2, y1, x2, x1?
Negative 2 minus 2 for the top row.
Very good.
Negative 3 minus 3 for the bottom.
So these little subscript numbers, it's just talking about what number y. So my second y value is y2. So up here, my second y value is negative 2. Does everyone see that? So I plug that into that formula. I need my minus sign from the formula. And then what we say y1 was?
Y1 is 2.
2. It's my first y value. Any questions identifying y2 or y1? So what would that make my x2 value?
-3.
-3. It's my second x value. Minus sign from the formula. And then what's my x1 value? 3, my first x value. Now I can work this out. What's -2 minus 2? -4. What's -3 minus 3? -6. What does that reduce down to? Positive 2/3. Which is what I got earlier, right? Make sure we were all taking our notes. Any questions on how I did it that way? How did I know which ordered pair to put where, though? Why didn't I put -3, -2 first?
Because like the one that's rising needs to be first because it's rising over run.
Well, let's just see what our answer would be if we did it this way.
It doesn't matter for this.
Let's try it out real quick. So what's my y2 in this case? 2 minus, what's my y1? So I can just write it like that?
No, yeah, the negative.
Very good. We need the negative from the formula, but we also need the negative from our x value. You got to account for both of them. What's my x2?
3.
3 minus what?
-3.
-3. So if I have two negatives right next to each other, what does that mean?
Positive.
I'm just adding them, right? So what's 2 plus 2? 3 plus 3?
6.
Is that the same answer I got?
Yes.
Huh. So do you think it matters which order pair I put first?
No.
No, it doesn't. Okay? Just as long as I put a y value over its corresponding x value. So I had the positive 2 over positive 3. And then -2 over -3. You got to have them corresponding. Okay? But it does not matter which ordered pair you put first. Any questions there? Can I erase and move on to B? Letter B. Which method do we want to use to, well, never mind. We got to describe the slope first. Is this uphill, downhill, flat, or vertical?
Downhill.
Downhill. What does slope dude say there?
Nice.
Nice negative. So I'd say the line goes downhill from left to right. So the slope is what? So the slope is negative. Any questions on how to describe it?
No.
We all good with slope dude? Can I erase and find the slope now?
Yes.
Which method do y'all want to use to find the slope? Do you want to use the rise over run or the formula?
Formula.
The rise over run.
Formula.
I guess we're going to do both.
I mean, rise over run's so much easier.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, but like if you do the other one, you can explain it more. That's what I'm looking for.
We'll do both.
So,
I didn't know it was going to be split so evenly, but we'll do both. It's okay. So my rise, is that my vertical change or my horizontal change?
Just so it's vertical.
Vertical. So how far am I going from here to here? 1, 2, 3. And then my run is my horizontal change. So how far am I running? 1, 2. And then what did we say slope dude says on that line? Nice negative, so I know it needs to be a -3/2. Does that make sense? So my slope is -3/2. Yep. We're going to do the other method as well, though. We're going to use our formula to get a little more practice using it. Because sometimes you're just given two ordered pairs without the graph. So you could go to the trouble of graphing it and then finding the rise over run from your graph. Or you could just use your formula and not even have to worry about graphing it at all. So what are my two ordered pairs?
0, 2, and then 2 and -1.
Okay? So what's my second y value? So that's my y2. Minus, what's my first y value? 2. Over, what's my second x value? Minus, what's my first x value? 0. What's -1 minus 2? -3. What's 2 minus 0? 2. Same answer I got earlier. That can't be reduced anymore, so I just leave it like that. Any questions?
No.
We okay using the slope formula?
Yes.
We okay doing rise over run?
Yes.
Any questions?
No.
Can I erase and move on? Okay, let's look at tables of values. It says the points represented by each table lie on a line. How can you find the slope of each line from the table? What is the slope of each line? So can someone raise your hand and maybe give me an idea of how I'm going to find the slope just given a table of values?
Oh, me? You would graph them, I think.
What can I do without graphing?
Okay.
Use the
slope intercept form, the y2 minus y1.
Use my slope formula, right? It's not the slope intercept formula. It's just the slope formula. But I've got 4 ordered pairs there. Which ones do I use?
The top one, it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. No, it doesn't. Does it? I know these are all on a line because it tells me they're on a line. So this is a linear function. So it has a slope. So I can pick any 2 I want. I can pick the first and the second one. I can pick the first and the last one. First and the third. Second and the third. Second and the fourth. Last 2. I can use any combination of my 2 points. So which 2 do y'all want to use?
The first one.
First 2? Let's use the first 2. So between my 2 points, what's my second y value? 14. Minus, what's my first y value? 20. Is everyone with me? What's my second x value? 7. Minus, what's my first x value? 4. What's 14 minus 20? -6. 7 minus 4? 3. What's -6 divided by 3? -2. So my slope of my line of my given table of values is -2. Does everyone see that? Once again, it doesn't matter which 2 ordered pairs you use. You can use any set of 2. And if you don't believe me, go through and try all the combinations. You should get -2 every single time. Any questions on A?
No.
Can I erase and go to B?
Yes.
Okay, which 2 do we want to use? Last 2? Okay, what's my second y value between those 2 points? 2 minus what's my first y value? 2. What's my second x value? 5 minus what's my first x value? 3. 2 minus 2? 5 minus 3? 2. What is 0 divided by 2? 0. So my slope of this line is 0. So what kind of a line is this? No, it's not undefined.
Zero.
Oh, it's
Oh, the
a.
zero line, whatever.
Horizontal.
It's horizontal. Very good. If it has a slope of 0, it's a horizontal line. We learned that from Hoyvux, and we learned that from Slope Dude. Right? So this is a horizontal line. But it does have a slope. The slope is 0. And if you notice, all my y values are the same. So it's just going through 2. It's a horizontal line going through 2 on my y-axis. Just like that. Okay? Questions on B? Can I erase and move to C? I don't know why I erased the whole thing. Okay, which 2 do we want to use?
Middle.
I heard middle 2 first. So between those 2 points, what's my second y value? 6 minus, what's my first y value? 0. Over, what's my second x value? -3 minus, what's my first x value? -3. You still have to account for that minus from the formula. And the negative with my x value. Okay, so what's 6 minus 0? 6. What's -3 plus 3? 0. So what's my answer here? What's 6 divided by 0?
It's 0 and it's an undefined.
It's not 0. It's undefined. Once again, if you notice, instead of my y values all being the same, it's my x values all being the same. So what kind of line is this? It's vertical. It's going through -3 on the x-axis. So it's a vertical line right here.
How is that undefined?
The slope is undefined.
Oh.
Right? Because Slope Dude says undefined. Does that make sense? Questions on that? So real quick, a lot of people get confused on determining which of these is 0, which of them is undefined. I have a little trick that my algebra teacher taught me back when I was in high school. I still use it. I tell kids about it. If you guys like it, you can use it. If not, no harm, no foul, don't use it. Okay? So I treat my fraction like a bag of groceries. And I treat the 0 like an egg. Like a carton of eggs. Okay? When you pack your groceries into a grocery bag, do you want your eggs on bottom or on top? Why? They don't get smashed, right? So, I want them on top so I can get a nice number out of it. If they're on top, I get a nice number, I get 0.
I like it.
They don't get crushed, right? If they're on bottom, what's going to happen to them? They get crushed. I don't want that. I say the worst curse word in math. I say undefined. Whenever I crush my eggs, I just yell out undefined. Right? Does that help a little bit? Yeah. Just think of the 0 like an egg. You want it on top so you get a nice number out of it. If you crush your eggs, you're going to say the curse word in math, undefined. So that's a little trick to remember. If the 0 is on top, you get 0. If the 0 is on bottom, you get undefined. Okay? Questions there?
No.
Did that help at all, or are you guys not going to use that?
That helps.
Good. Last concept. So tomorrow, we're actually going to graph linear equations using slope-intercept form. So I just wanted to introduce you to slope-intercept form real quick.
Tomorrow's Saturday.
Yeah, it's Monday, sorry. Monday. When we finish our notes on this. You still need to take notes on this. Have it written down. So that way we can just go right into Monday and you know what slope-intercept form is. You've probably already heard of it before and seen it. I'd write it all. Go for it. So a linear equation written in the form y equals mx plus b is in what we call slope-intercept form. The slope of the line is m, and the y-intercept of the line is b. So y equals mx plus b. M is the slope. B is the y-intercept. That's why it's called slope-intercept form, because you're given the slope and the intercept, the y-intercept. Slope-intercept form. That makes sense, right? That's why it's called that. Question?
Is X our X value, or what's X supposed to represent?
X is still our
X in it?
independent variable.
Oh, okay.
Okay? So our slope is just being multiplied by our independent variable. So kind of going back to horizontal lines and Hoyvucks down here, a linear equation written in the form y equals 0x plus b. What's 0 times x? 0. What's 0 plus b? B. So an equation written in the form y equals 0x plus b, or just y equals b, is what we call a constant function. The slope is what?
It's flat.
What's the slope?
0.
Yes, slope is 0. So the graph of a constant function is a horizontal line. Just a little side note down there. You guys remember slope-intercept form?
Yes.
Okay. You need to have that memorized too. Y equals mx plus b is called slope-intercept form. Okay? Can I go ahead and move on? Question?
What is the Y supposed to represent? Just the,
That's our dependent variable.
okay.
We all good? So, we're just going to go through these examples and identify the slope and the y-intercept of each linear equation. So once again, my slope is the number that's multiplied by my x variable. My y-intercept is my constant, so b. Okay? So on letter A, raise your hand if you can tell me my slope and my y-intercept.
3, -4.
Which one's which?
The 3 is the slope,
3 is my slope because it's being multiplied by x.
and -4, you got the y-intercept right there.
That's my y-intercept. That's my constant term. Very good. Any questions there? Very good. That's it for letter A because it says find the slope and the y-intercept. That's it on those. Letter B, raise your hand. If you can tell me my slope and my y-intercept.
With slope is 0 and the y-intercept is 6.5.
Very good. This is pretty much what the little side note was saying at the bottom. This could be in the form y equals 0x plus b or y equals b. Because I could write this as y equals 0x plus 6.5. So the slope is 0. 0 is being multiplied by x. Y-intercept's the constant, 6.5. Questions there? Lastly, letter C. Raise your hand if you can tell me my slope and my y-intercept.
The y-intercept would be 2, and the slope would be 5.
It'd be what?
The slope would be 5.
Not quite.
Every -5.
Not quite.
You, okay, hold on.
Well, what do I need to do first before I identify the slope and the y-intercept?
Make sure it's actually properly written in slope-intercept.
Very good. I need to make sure it's in slope-intercept form. Is this in slope-intercept form? No, it's not. Slope-intercept form, which variable is by itself?
B.
Y. Y is by itself on one side of the equation, right? So, what do I need to do in order to get this in slope-intercept form? Isolate y. Get y by itself on one side of the equation. So what's my first step in doing that?
Add 5x to both sides.
Add 5x to both sides. Don't forget that negative with the y. It has to stay with it. Can I combine 5x and -2? No. So I just leave it as 5x minus 2. I have that negative with the y. How do I get rid of that? Huh? Divide by negative 1. That's like a negative 1 times y. So if I divide by negative 1, it's going to become positive y. When I divide my right side of the equation by negative 1, I have to divide each term by negative 1. So it's just pretty much just changing my signs. So positive 5x divided by negative 1 turns to negative 5x. Negative 2 divided by negative 1 turns into positive 2. Is this now in slope-intercept form? Yes, it is. The y is isolated by itself. So now, what is my slope? Negative 5. What's my y-intercept? 2. Any questions there?
No.
Not too bad? Here's our assignment. Due at the end of the hour. Just kidding. The assignment from yesterday is due Monday, correct?
Wait, can you go back to the very first line?
Yeah, hold on one second.
Can I write this down?
The assignment from yesterday is due Monday, correct? Or March 1st. This assignment is due Tuesday, March 2nd. So you got a few days to work on it. It's like 12-ish problems, something like that. Not too terrible. Any questions about the assignment? Questions before I stop the recording about the notes?